Hey, welcome to Conversations with a Therapist podcast. I'm Jennifer Kyalo. I am a counseling psychologist and I am a writer, and I am also the host of this show. My work focuses on breaking down complex psychological concepts into practical and actionable frameworks that you can implement today to build a meaningful life. If that is something that you're interested in, then I highly encourage you to subscribe to this podcast and share the link with at least one person in your contact list. You never know who desperately needs to hear this message today, and you could be the person that connects them to a resource that changes the rest of their life. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you have any questions about psychology, then send them to the email address in the description box. With that said, let's jump right into today's episode. Cults in general know who to target with their message. They know who is an easy target, and they know who is going to be a difficult person whom they can't convince, or it will take too much time, too much work, too much investment to convince them to join the organization. So they always go for the easy target. So what makes you an easy target? That is the discussion you're having today. You're trying to figure out what makes you an easy target to get lured into a cult. There are 7 reasons, points, things, characteristics, if you would call them, that would make you an easy target for a cult leader or a cult in general to lure you into their movement. And that is what I'm going to be addressing in this episode. Listen in, let me know if you think you have struggled with any of these things and they have made you an easy target, if they have been used against you in the past. Let me know. If you are new here, if it's your first time listening to this podcast, then we are on episode 7 of the cult series. Today we are talking about what makes you an easy target. If you have not listened to the other episodes, I highly encourage that you do so. They are all linked in the description box of the podcast, so check it out. Number 1, what makes you an easy target for a cult? You are going through a challenging period in life. You are struggling with something. You are facing a crisis. That makes you an easy target. Because when you are vulnerable, when you are struggling, when you are in pain, you are most likely to try anything to alleviate that pain. You are going to try anything to find clarity. You are going to try anything to find a solution. And so a cult leader is going to capitalize on that. They're going to find you at your weakest moment, at the moment you're struggling the most, and they're going to come and offer you a solution. They'll be like, hey, we know you're struggling with this. We can help you. We have helped other people like you, and we have all the answers. Don't worry. You just need to show up. So that's how they're going to approach you. They're going to offer you a solution to your problem. And they are going to find you when you're struggling the most. Because when you're struggling the most, you're most susceptible to influence. You're most easily going to defer judgment and decision making to other people. Especially if you do not have a support system or anything, you're going to find that you need other people to take care of you. You need other people to support you, to help you deal with the problem. And so they will find you at that time. Number 2, the other thing that makes you an easy target for a cult is that you are innocently pursuing a topic for self-development. So what they will do is they will watch for people who are trying to build themselves, to make themselves better. Maybe you are chasing wellness, self-development, financial freedom. You're trying to advance yourself in one way or another. And then they will come and build on top of that. They're going to start off helping you find these things. Even religious advancement, you're trying to get spiritual wellness, you're trying to advance your spirituality and everything. They will come and build upon that because it's something you already know and something you are already interested in. So they will build their message on top of what you already know. It is easier than for them to start telling you new things that you don't already know. Once they know that you're interested in these things, you are already pursuing a topic, you're trying to make yourself better, you're trying to grow as a person, they will come and now start feeding you more information, and then eventually it just becomes a slippery slope. They will teach you things that in the beginning you did not even know that's where they were going. They will tell you things that sometimes surprise you, but because of the investment you've made in the organization, with time, you're just like, sawa basi. So it's that thing, as I said again, for sunk cost fallacy. Go listen to that episode to learn more about why, once you've invested kidogo, eventually you just can't stop investing more. So they will find you when you're innocently pursuing a topic, and they will build upon that topic for you. They will give you information about that topic, and then more, and eventually they'll start feeding you their own messages. Number 3, you have a very low tolerance for ambiguity. You are the kind of person who wants absolute answers. You want quick answers. You want to know what needs to be done immediately. You do not have time to sit with uncertainty. You don't have time to sit with thoughts because you're like very impatient with ambiguous things. You want answers direct and clear, concise, immediately. And so, in the beginning, these are people who will come and help you get those answers very quickly. Because with them, they offer you very simple solutions. They give you purpose. As I said previously, they will try to give you meaning. And that is something attractive. And you don't have to spend too much time finding all these things for yourselves. They can lure you with that because they're like, why spend so much time trying to understand these things yet you've already figured them out for you? So because of your lack of tolerance for ambiguity, for your need for absolute answers, quick answers, your impatience when it comes to uncertainty, they will find you there and they'll be like, don't worry, we have all the answers, we have figured it out, you just come and implement. And so that's how you get fed a false narrative. That's how you get fed things that do not align with your values. There's a quote that I love by William Sheldon, and I'm going to read it for you. It says, deeper and more fundamental than sexuality, deeper than craving for social power, deeper than the desire for possessions, there is still a more generalized and more universal craving in the human makeup. It is the craving for knowledge of the right direction, for orientation. That's the quote by William Sheldon. And in that quote, you can hear exactly what I'm saying about ambiguity. We all want knowledge. We all want to know what we are supposed to do. We want to have the right direction. We want to be given orientation to do where are we supposed to be headed. So when you're struggling, let's say, with the big questions of life, who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? Let's say you're just transitioning from one stage of your life to another, and you're thinking, what am I supposed to be doing with my life now? What does the future hold for me? It's easy to fall for somebody who's telling you that they have already figured it out and here's the answer they're giving you. And most of the time, it's a low-cost answer. They are not charging you for anything. They'll be like, just come, join. We are going to give you these answers. You already know these things. So that's how they find you. They will try to orient you, give you knowledge of the right direction. They will help you figure out questions that you already have with very simplistic answers, give you purpose, give you solutions. And you fall for that because you do not have the capacity to sit with ambiguity. I highly encourage that all of us learn how to sit with ambiguity, discomfort. Distress tolerance is a huge skill that everybody needs to learn so that you're not easily swayed with quick answers. Always remember that if it is a quick answer, there must have been a lot of work that was done for it to be that quick answer. Like, nobody just figures things out just like that. They took time to figure these things out. And secondly, whatever answer they give you is an answer that is aligned with their life, because we are all on different paths. So even if whatever they give you worked for them, does not mean that it will work for you, because your life and your purpose and your path is very different from what everybody else is leading. So be very wary of people who are offering you quick answers, quick solutions to things. Be very wary of people who seem to have figured it out and they are willing to just give you things for free like that, easily access to information just like that. Be very wary. I'm not saying that it is always a lie. Sometimes people do have these answers. Sometimes people have figured out things, but use them as learning opportunities. Don't rely on them as the guidance for your life. You have to figure out life for yourself. You have to think for yourself. So I think that's the message. The fourth thing that makes you a very easy target for a cult is your lack of assertiveness, your lack of self-confidence, being too agreeable. You fear confrontation. You can't say no. You can't express doubt, criticism. Those are things that are very foreign to you. And you always think that having an opposing or differing opinion is a sign that you're fighting with somebody. For you, you either agree or you're not a nice person. You've also attached the identity of, I need to be a nice person, to yourself. So people pleasing is your story. So when you put yourself in that situation, it becomes very hard for you to say no to things when people start pushing agendas on you that you do not agree with. If you are unable to be assertive and to say no to invitations, to say no to things, to say no to beliefs that you do not agree with, if for you confrontation is a bad thing, it's a thing that makes you a bad person because your identity as a nice person is something that you hold very dearly, then it's very easy for you to get lured into a cult or any movement that is destructive for that matter. Because for you just want to agree to be a pleasant person, you're a nice person, you want people to think that you're a nice person, you want people to feel comfortable around you all the time. I'm not saying these are all bad things. I'm just saying that your desire for being seen as nice is going to lead you into trouble if you are unable to confront people, especially when they say things that you do not agree with. Confrontation does not mean fighting. You can confront and also be kind at the same time. You can confront without violence. You can confront people without insults. You can confront and be civil at the same time. You can be kind. You can be generous with your confrontation. So again, think about this in the way of confrontation is not a bad thing, and you don't have to be a bad person just because you've confronted somebody. And if you do not agree with something, you don't have to always go along with it. It's okay for you to say no. The next reason why you could be an easy target for a cult or a cult leader is because of your gullibility. So gullible people are people who are very trustful, actually over-trusting. They are easily deceived. These are people that can be easily exploited and taken advantage of because they are easy to persuade. They believe things very easily. For them, they don't question things. They don't think critically about things. Whatever they are told, they believe at face value. They take it at face value. They don't question and think critically about the things they observe in the world. What their thoughts, they don't think critically about their thoughts. They don't think critically about the things that other people say to them, the way other people behave in their presence. And so it's very easy to sell your narrative to somebody who is gullible. So for you, if you're a gullible person, people will come and tell you things. And because you can't think critically about whatever they're telling you, you will accept those things very easily and you will trust those people very easily. You're like, oh, okay. They said if I go there, they're going to give me free whatever. And I said yes. And that's how you get kidnapped. You're not able to understand that free things are never free, right? Gullible people are very over-trusting. These are people that will get lied to constantly and they will not see it. And if you are unable to think critically about situations, if you're unable to put thoughts to the test, if you're unable to put people to the test to confirm whatever they're saying, for people to prove what they're saying is true, then you will be easily deceived by a cult or a cult leader. They will tell you things, and because you don't want to think critically about them, or you don't have their capacity to think critically about those things they're telling you, you're going to fall for them. When they tell you that they have been sent by God, you will not even sit down and ask, what does that even mean? When they tell you that they are the Lord's chosen, you will not question, what does that mean? What does it mean to be the Lord's chosen? So all the time, gullible people are people who get taken advantage of. Do not be a gullible person. Of all things, do not be a gullible person. People will take advantage of you if you are gullible. You'll be led to believe things, even when those things do not have any logical foundations. Be wary of people who around you are gullible and help them learn to question things. So this is where I call for critical thinking. I highly encourage that we all learn critical thinking. Gullible people are easily persuaded to join things that do not serve them. Do not be gullible. And if you are gullible at this point, I highly encourage that you just take a class on critical thinking. Go read on the internet more about critical thinking to understand what exactly is critical thinking and how do we exercise critical thinking so that we are not taken advantage of. The sixth reason why you might be an easy target for a cult leader or a cult in general is that maybe you are going through a period of a lot of disillusionment. Maybe you are feeling dissatisfied with your life at the moment. Maybe you have even lost a job and you're no longer connected to the social circles that you had access to when you were working at that place. So now you've just been left alone. Nothing has meaning. You're trying to figure out, what exactly am I supposed to do with my life? You're trying to figure out, where do I belong? Do I belong anywhere? Do I even have friends? You're feeling very hopeless. You're feeling very down. You're feeling like, honestly, I am just the only one. That is the moment they find you. That is where they find you. And because you do not feel like you have any purpose, you do not have any meaning, that is how they find you, and they attack and they hook you into their cult. So think about the moments that you're going through something difficult, when you are struggling with disillusionment and you do not believe there is anything worth living for. That is the time to reach out to your support system. Those are people who can help you. Those are people who love you, people who care about you, and people who can protect you. And if you can reach out to them, they can even help you stay away from people who could potentially lead you down a path that is destructive, especially joining a cult. The last reason why you could be an easy target for a cult is because of your ignorance of how manipulation works and your confidence that you cannot be manipulated. I have met so many people who believe they are too smart to be manipulated. They're like, mi siwezi danganywa, mi siwezi embo vitu kama hizo. We are under the impression that manipulation is for people who are not smart. that it is only people who are not brilliant, who are not educated like you, who can be manipulated. But that is a whole lie. There are many people who are educated, who are smart, who have achieved a lot in life, who have solved big problems globally, and they are victims of or cult members into some cult, So your ignorance of how manipulation works, that's the first part. If you don't know how people get manipulated, if you've not listened to this cult series from the beginning to understand how people actually get manipulated, then that could make it easy for you. Could actually make it easy for a cult leader to manipulate you into joining their cult, because you don't even know that you're being manipulated. So you don't know how manipulation works. So if you don't know how manipulation works, you become an easy target, because when they manipulate you, you won't even know that they're manipulating you. The other aspect is your confidence that you cannot be manipulated is going to also put you in trouble, because if you think that you're too smart, if you think that you are too educated, if you think that that you are immune to indoctrination, then you think you cannot be manipulated into a cult, then you are an easy target, because they will play into that. They'll be like, "Hey, see, you're smart. How can you manipulate you into a cult? How can our thing be a cult if you're smart enough not to be manipulated into a cult?" I want to answer that question conclusively and just say, if you're asking yourself if anyone is too smart to be sucked into a cult, to be lured into a cult, the short answer is no. And the long answer is that there are several things at play at the same time, two actually, that make you think that you're too smart to be manipulated into a cult. One is called the fundamental attribution error. And this is something I spoke about when I was speaking about the psychology of cults. The manipulations, the psychological concepts that cult leaders manipulate to get you into their cult. So with the fundamental attribution error is that there's the tendency for people to attribute others' actions to their character, ignoring the impact of the situational factors. When you're using the fundamental attribution error, you're going to find yourself overemphasizing that the people who get manipulated into cults is because of their personal characteristics. They're not smart, they're not good enough, they're not intellectuals, they don't think. That's what you're going to be telling yourself. But you're too smart, you can't be manipulated into a cult. And then you're going to start ignoring the situational factors that could have contributed to these people getting manipulated into a cult. And these situational factors, I have mentioned them in the past, in previous episodes. It could be they're going through a crisis. It could be that they're struggling with some personal problem, and they get manipulated like that. Listen to all the episodes I've spoken about why and how people get manipulated into cults. You're going to understand why you can find yourself ignoring the situational factors and then judging people based on their character, and assuming that the reason they were manipulated into a cult is because they're not smart enough, and you're too smart, you can never be manipulated. So that overconfidence, that can put you in a very big problem. People who end up in cults, as I've said, are not stupid, they're not weird, they're not crazy, they're not weak, they're not stupid, they're not people at Awajasoma. It's people like you and me. And the other thing is that you saying that people who get manipulated into cults are all these things, stupid, weird, crazy, weak, whatever, you are assuming that the cult messaging that was used on them targeted the intellect. Cults and their leaders do not always target the intellect. Sometimes they target other things. Cults will target your emotions, they will target your fears, your weaknesses, your vulnerabilities. They don't always target your intellect at how smart are you. It's not like an IQ test, So cults, their messaging is always being targeted specifically to vulnerabilities and weaknesses that they know they can manipulate. They can use their messaging to target you in your seeming strength. Where you think that you're strong enough, you're too intellectual, you're smart, that is where they will target you, because they know they can find ways of manipulating that smartness. They can find ways of manipulating you and putting what ifs in your mind. So if you believe you're intelligent, you're rational, you're a person who thinks through things, they will appeal to that intelligence and present to you a lot of false evidence that you have not thought through, and they will try to make you believe that what you believe is actually right, and they will not question you. They will try to make you feel that you're special and you're really, really smart. Actually, you're very, very smart. And because you're a human being, you're going to fall for those things. Because you're a human being, not because you're not smart enough. They can present you with false evidence, false studies, theories, things that will get you hooked. And as long as those things align to their messaging, and they can align that messaging to your beliefs and your needs and your motivations, that's how they will get you. So your false sense of security and safety in your intellect can turn you into a huge target. It can make you the person that gets manipulated into a cult because you believe you're too smart to not be targeted, to not be indoctrinated into a cult. So don't get cocky. Don't get to a place where you think you're too smart ati wezi ambo kitu yote. Remember, they will combine all the things that I've mentioned, all the things that I've mentioned in the beginning, your challenging times that you're going through, your innocent pursuit of self-development, your tolerance to your intolerance for ambiguity, your lack of assertiveness, all these things. They will combine them with times when you are stressed, maybe you are lonely, you are uninformed, you're distracted by something, you're fatigued, and that's how they will be able to easily influence you, because there are many factors that are making you an easy target. So think about how these things can be used against you. Remember that it is not that these vulnerabilities are the things that get you into a cult. You don't get into a cult because you are ignorant or because you are you are struggling with a personal issue or because you're gullible. It is because these vulnerabilities are manipulated. That is how they get you into the cult. The manipulation of the vulnerability, not the vulnerability itself. Because if we say it's the vulnerability itself, then you're putting a lot of blame on a victim. Yet, the person to be held highly responsible is the cult leader and the members of the cult who are perpetuating this story, who are selling this story to people. So, manipulation of the vulnerability is what gets you into a cult, not that you have these vulnerabilities. Remember, we all struggle with these things. All of us have been in situations where you have felt that you are struggling, you are going through a difficult time in your life. All of us have been through difficult times. If a cult was to find us at that time, if a cult leader was to find us at that time, we could have been easy targets. But somehow, for some reason, maybe we never got to interact with those people, and we were saved in that aspect. But think about it this way: you could be in any of these situations. You could be the person who, at some point, you do not have the bandwidth to tolerate ambiguity. You could be the person who is innocently pursuing a particular topic for self-development, and then you stumble upon this cult and they indoctrinate you. So don't think that it is the vulnerabilities that are bad things. Of course, those are things that we can work on because they are things that put us at a disadvantage. We can work on those things. Pole. We can build ourselves. We can learn more about these things. We can learn how to critically think about situations. That is something that we can learn. But then, remember, it is when these vulnerabilities are manipulated that we are moved and pushed into a cult. That is how we get lured into a cult. So, I don't know what you're thinking about this. I don't know what you're feeling about knowing that you could be an easy target. I don't know what you're feeling about me saying that your intelligence might not save you from being lured into a cult. I hope you don't hate me. I am just shedding light and sharing information so that we are informed. Let me know in the comments what you think about these points that I've spoken about, how you've seen them being manipulated by other people, what your experience has been, and how every single day you're working towards making yourself less gullible, less of an easy target. How are you every day building your critical thinking skills? Tell me how you are building your critical thinking skills to make sure that you do not get lied to by people. You do not get lied to by people. And let's educate each other, able to fundishane, so that none of us is left behind. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you so much for your support and for subscribing. I will see you in the next episode, where we'll be talking more about the motivations and the agendas that a cult leader has. What is the purpose? Why do they do the things that they do? Watch out for that episode. And having said that, take care of yourselves, take care of your mental health, and I will see you next time.